Good morning. What you may or may not know about me is that I love using maps. Maps give us more information than just location. We haven't had a chance to use a lot of them this year because it's been kind of a funny year, but we're going to start looking at more of them starting today. So we're going to take a look at this map here and see what it tells us besides just where the 13 colonies are. We're going to start out by looking at the map key. So it says colonists from many nations, 1775. So when we're talking about colonial America, we're talking about the time from when the colonies were started to before the Revolutionary War started, which is 1775. So that kind of 100 years. All right, and so we notice that different colors tell us something. It says largest European group to settle in the area. So notice it doesn't say largest group living in the area. So we still have to ask questions. It says largest group who settled in the area. So that's going to tell me that this map does not represent people who were there before the colonies were started. This map is showing me the people who came over to make the colonies. So we have English, German, Scotch, Irish, Dutch, I can't talk, Scots. And then we have enslaved Africans, over 30% of local population. So that tells me that it's only going to show me where there are slaves if the slaves are more than 30% of the population. So that means that there could be slaves in these other areas, but they are not in large enough numbers to be included on the map. So that's important to know. Just because those dots are there doesn't mean that they are not there. Okay, so let's take a look at New England and what this map can tell us about New England. So here's New England up here. You'll notice that this part up here says MA for Mass, because remember, Massachusetts also includes what is now Maine. Okay, and if I look at my New England states, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire, I notice that it is mostly yellow. It's not completely yellow, but it is pretty much mostly yellow, which means it is mostly settled by English people, so people coming over from England, which should make sense because it's called New England. I do notice that there's a little green here and that there's a little green here. So there are a couple small communities of Scots-Irish living in the area. But overall, those New England colonies are predominantly or mostly made up by people who have come over on the ship from England. Okay, we got a second map here that we're going to look at, and it's the same location as the other map. We're still looking at the 13 colonies, but it's going to give us slightly different information. So we're going to go down here to the map key. It says religion in the colonies. Okay, so let's look at what it says here. It says official religions. Official means those are the religions of the colony, that the colony says this is a blank colony. So for example, the Grey is Anglican. So the colony is mostly an Anglican colony, and that's the Church of England. That would be the church that the Pilgrims and the Puritans were trying to get away from and fix, which makes sense because if you look up here in New England is not that gray color because they are not Anglican, okay? They wanted to change that church. All right, so then we look up here and we have Puritan, congregational, okay? So the blue stands for Puritan, which makes sense because we've already talked about that. And the Pilgrims were a type of Puritan who wanted to completely separate from the church, whereas the regular Puritans just wanted to fix it. So if we look up here again, mostly blue. So that means the official religion in New England is mostly Puritan. You will notice that in here there's a little bit of yellow in the spot right there with a couple extra symbols. So if we go down here, that is the colony of Rhode Island. It says none. There is no official religion in Rhode Island. And so I should be asking myself questions because we talked about asking questions. And one of the questions might be, well, why is there no official religion in Rhode Island? Why aren't they Puritan if everybody else around them is? And we're going to learn maybe a little bit about that later, so I don't want to give too much away. And there's also a couple symbols here. So they have Quakers there, and they have Jewish people there. They also do have a mix of some Puritan people there. So while Rhode Island does allow a few different religions, most of New England is made up of Puritan peoples or people who used to be Puritan who spread out into the other colonies. So that is the information that we can gather about New England from that map.